looking forward to seeing what he's looking for.
Good afternoon. I want to thank you all for being here this afternoon. I want to start out by reading the obituary from Charles. Charles Carey Lane, 77, of Ironton, formerly of Wichita Falls, Texas, died at the St. Cloud Hospital on February 25th, 2022. He was born on December 13th, 1944, in Pampa, Texas, to Chester and Gail Carey Lane. He was an Army veteran and a member of the Myron James American Legion Post 443 in Ironton. He married Kathleen Marie Bergsnev on June 18, 1988, in Greenbush. For 25 years, he was a psychiatric social worker in Wichita Falls, Texas. He was a member and past president of the Brainerd Area Amateur Radio Club. His call sign was W5CCL. He was an Aries weather-worn and member of the Public Information Communication Organization. Preceding him in death are his parents and one brother, Todd. He is survived by his wife, Kathy, one son and daughter-in-law, Robert and Kelly Lane of Allen, Texas, one daughter and son-in-law, Jen and Drew Pelto of Arlington, Texas, two brothers and a sister-in-law, Alan and Kay Lane of Decatur, Texas, Richard and Andrea Lane of Salt Lake City, Utah, and many nieces and nephews. Of course, we have a visitation today that was held from 1 to 3 and 4 o'clock for testimony, 3 to 4 for testimony. His funeral is here at Koop Funeral Home in Crosby. Full military honors will be given by Myron James, American Legion, Post 443 in Ironton. I want to share with you just a couple things that Charles really treasured. He had scripture verses that he really loved. It came from Matthew chapter 11, verses 28 through 30. I'll read them for you now. It says, "Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you, and learn of me, for I am meek and lowly in heart. And ye shall find rest unto your souls, for my yoke is easy, and my burden is light." In verse 28, our Savior, the Lord Jesus Christ, has invited all that labor and are heavy laden to come unto him. He alone gives that invitation for men to come to him when feeling guilt and misery and to believe in his love and power to help. They seek him in fervent prayer. Charles was that kind of man. He believed in taking up Jesus' yoke to find rest for his soul. He never let things pile up and drag him down. He always let that burden lay on the Lord. Sometimes he and I would go fishing. In fact, we did that a lot during the summertime. And we would talk about a lot of things. But he'd always say, it's all in God's hands. He'll work it out. He always depended on God to work it out. He never got overly excited about much of the cares or concerns of this world. I think a real good testimony comes from one of his amateur radio contacts. It's from Harold, 8KB0ROB. That's his call sign. He's a fellow ham operator from Bemidji, Minnesota. He called Charles a kindred spirit. That's what Charles was. Of course, he also nicknamed him the Cuyuna Kid. Some of you that operate the PicoNet understand that. Charles grew up in a little town in Texas where his family attended a Baptist church regularly. Wasn't a Baptist, what was it? Christian church, regularly. He went to Vietnam. When he came home, he went to college. He worked for 30 years in his profession, psychiatrist, social worker. He retired and eventually moved to Ironton, Minnesota. Charles loved his family. He loved life. He loved to talk to people. He had that magnetic personality. Everybody seemed to be drawn to Charles. Kathy once told me that he would go to the post office 4 blocks away. He'd take the car there. 30 to 45 minutes later, he'd make it home again. Loved to talk. I think Debbie shared that with me also. He would often walk up to strangers and start a conversation, just like if he knew them. Ron, another ham operator, K0GOP, said this about Charles. Charles was the voice from the back of the room that really believed in service. And when his health was deteriorating, he did what he still could do. He believed that it was for the interest of weary and heavy-laden sinners to lay their burdens down. He would gladly pick up someone else's burdens to help them as Christ picks up our burdens. This is the gospel call. Whoever will, let them come. Charles had another favorite verse, John 3:16. John 3:16, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him shall not perish, but have everlasting life. This is one of the most popular and well-known verses in the Bible. You will see a sign with this verse on it at almost every football game you ever watch on TV or be there to watch in person. This is the gospel of Jesus Christ in a nutshell. If you needed to summarize the 4 gospels, that verse would summarize it completely. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. The message is so simple. Believe and receive. You know, that message alone, that one verse alone, I had once preached a 30-minute sermon on that. Don't worry, I'm not going to do it today. We're going to get out of here, okay? But I don't want to take you back to this verse, but I want to personalize it for you. And in the verse where it says, for God so loved the world, he's not talking about physical earth. He's talking about the people of the world. So I want to personalize this for you. It says, for God so loved me, God so loved you, that he gave his only Son, so that we can have life eternal with him in heaven. And what's our responsibility? Believe. Believe and receive. That's our responsibility. Page 3. I'm joking. I'm kidding, honest. We only have 5 more pages to go. I'm kidding that too. I want to read you a letter. In closing, I want to read you a letter that was posted on our club website. It's written right by Ron Finger. He said, Charles Lane, W5CCL, silent key. I first knew Charles as a voice from the back of the room, a distinctive voice for Minnesota, a relaxed Texas drawl, starting higher in pitch and in no particular hurry, until finishing at a quieter and lower octave. Charles was a fellow member of the Brainerd Area Amateur Radio Club. He was already there when his brother-in-law, Doug, W0DWB, and I were among the new hams in 2009. It wasn't too many monthly meetings later that I began to recognize his voice from the back of the Brainerd Fire Department meeting room. Charles seemed a bit of a contradiction at first. He was a large man with gray hair. Check, that probably describes more than 80% of our group. But what was this? He had a ponytail, a gray ponytail. There was a little bit of a rebel in him in there. Charles had a good sense of humor, and even more enduring was that it could be just as easily pointed at him as at others. It was the sugar that made the medicine go down. When he posed a question or suggestion that might tend to cause a stir, almost always his subjects involved service to others. Charles was the voice from the back that suggested we work with the Boy Scouts on their amateur radio merit badges and Jamboree on the Air. Charles was the voice that made the motion for a club donation to the Crow Wing Squadron of Civil Air Patrol. There were many other like-minded ideas over the years. It wasn't just talk. Service was important to Charles, even when the limitations of his health made it difficult. At our newest annual club event, the Northland Arboretum's Haunted Trail, Charles provided net control duties from the visitor center where he could use oxygen over the 3-night run. When he transitioned to a mobile net control, he operated from his vehicle. For many years, he held regular duties as a net control station for the HF PicoNet, and that distinctive voice became familiar to an even bigger room. He eventually moved to the front of our meeting room as club president in 2011 and served on the club executive board until his passing last month. I, along with many others, will miss that voice from the back. Friendly, cajoling, and sometimes at odds with others, it was a voice always charitable and willing in service to others. And in closing, Charles was not only my brother-in-law. He was my closest friend. He was my fishing buddy. And for the radio clubs, you'll understand this one. He was my Elmer. My Elmer is, for those that aren't in a radio club, probably don't understand that term. Elmer is someone that gets you going in the radio club, that helps you out every step of the way, sometimes donating equipment to you so you could operate. Charles did all that. He's my Elmer. Okay, now we're going to open it up to the group. Does anybody have any fond memories of Charles that you'd like to share? Come on. Okay. If you have any fond memories you want to share, you can come up here if you're brave. Or I've got a mic and I'll walk it right to your chair. Say again? All right, you can be seated. Do we have anybody? Okay, we got Kay and Ellen in Texas. Go ahead, Kay. We got you on speaker. Try again.
This is Alan Lane, Charles'
Can you hear
brother. Can you hear me?
Yeah, they can hear you.
Okay. I want to say a few words about Charles, my younger brother that is there in the service, and wish Kathy that our love, Charles may be gone, but he brought us a sister-in-law that we dearly love. As you get older, it's hard to realize that death is a natural part of life and eventually comes to us all. I had 3 brothers. Now there's 1. It makes me realize even more that we must enjoy the little things in life, as one day we will look back and realize they were the big things. I want to share with you 2 things that are big things today, as Charles always reminded me of the first. When I was about 12 and Charles 8, Mom said I had to take him with me to see William Tell at the local theater. The show really impressed me, as I'd just been given a bow and arrow by our neighbor and felt like I was a master and a William Tell in my own right. What really impressed me was about William Tell was shooting an apple off of one of his men's head. Yeah, you can guess the rest, as Charles was fond of showing off his scar as a result of my taking him behind the garage and replayed William Tell. Luckily he ducked, and needless to say, the results of my action were drastic when Mom had to take him to the doctor to get him sewn up. Lastly, when I came home from Korea, Charles asked me if I was scared at times. I said yes. But in times of fear and stress, I always remembered Psalm 23. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thy rod and staff, they comfort me. Charles later said, after coming home from Vietnam, he remembered and repeated Psalm 23 often. And he was fond of saying in Corinthians 12:9, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Little brother, I love you. You will be missed.
I think you're gonna know we're coming in.
Richard?
right, Richard, go ahead.
I'm waiting for Alan to finish.
He's finished. Richard, I think he's finished. We no longer have connection with him.
Okay, am I on Kathy's?
Yes, you are.
Okay. Yes. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you, Richard.
Okay, I probably need to step away from the we're watching on Zoom. So this is Richard Lane. The other living brother. What happened? Yeah.
He timed out. Something happened. Let's see.
Hello? Okay, let me put you back on speaker.
Jonathan?
Okay.
All right, Richard, we got you back on speaker.
Okay, can you hear me now?
I can hear you great.
Okay, so this is Richard Lane, my wife Andrea from Salt Lake City. I'm the fourth of the Lane boys. There was Todd in 1938, Alan in 1939, Charles born in 1944, and me, Richard, who they called the Runt. And I was born in 49. Unexpected, but parents hoped to finally have a girl. Oh well, births, life, and passing go on. I had two memories. One was as Charles was a teen, he had been a lifeguard at a big public swimming pool and then transitioned into taking care of. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yep, we can hear you.
So I'm not sure where you cut off or where I cut off, but so I'm on to a teen story. When Charles was a teen, I was there's the delay.
Richard, you're doing fine. You probably got a little bit of a delay. If you turn down your volume, we might not have to have that.
Okay, I think that's where I left off. So can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so Charles as a teen had transitioned from a swimming pool lifeguard to taking care of private pools, and one summer he had to drag me along. I don't think he ever let me swim in any of those private pools, but oh well. As I said before, then he had been a lifeguard in a very large public swimming pool and dove off of a very high board. I think they got rid of those. What are they called? Why is that delayed? Tell me about diving board there. Okay, tell me when you get to diving off a high board and I'll continue.
We're already there. Go ahead.
Okay, so there's a real delay. So stop me because I'm away from the TV now, or for the computer. Then there was a speeding incident with Alan's first car, his older brother. A friendly policeman called our father, so Charles caught hell from both Dad and Alan when he came home. Next to my memory was Vietnam, and that's one of the key things I remember about Charles. I have great respect for Charles and other Vietnam vets, indeed all vets, for your service to the nation. Well, I don't know why this delays. Okay. It was a very unfortunate war, which many wondered why we were there, and the vets bore the brunt. I know from Charles, who would never talk about Vietnam, and my father-in-law, who was wounded the second wave of D-Day in World War II, that PTSD is real. It is very sad that it took the U.S. military and Congress so long to recognize the effects of Agent Orange, even though it could quickly destroy whole forests, but humans, well, maybe not. That was on the top of the trauma that you vets and Charles suffered in Nam, and harsh criticism you received when you returned stateside. It was truly sad. A hearty thank you to Charles and all vets for your service. Moving on, I was away from Texas and the country from 1968 to 1982, living in Canada and Germany where I worked. So did not have a lot of contact with Charles, Linda, Robbie, Jenny, and Kathy. Let me find my notes again. His new wife, Kathy. I do remember that he often worked 2 jobs to support his family when Robbie and Jenny were young, his son and daughter. After 1982, when I had come back to the States, the Lane clan, as we like to call ourselves, or I called us, would get together for a few days every year or 2, which is when I met Kathy and caught up a bit with Robbie and Jenny. I was married twice, so I understand changing feelings and relations. Maybe just maybe we guys finally grow up and realize what we want. Sorry to the past people. Kathy was a very good and positive influence and life partner for Charles, like my second wife, Andrea, is for me. Those dear wives tolerate a lot, right, Kathy, Kay, and Andrea? So to wrap it up, maybe in their home in Ironton, there's a sign, gone fishing, or talking with my ham radio friends, because I know those activities meant a lot to him. I sense he really enjoyed his years in Minnesota, even while tolerating the very deep snow and cold. Amen. May Charles Carey Lane rest in peace. Now free of declining health and any regrets, which, if all of us are honest with ourselves, we all have regrets. May his significant others, Kathy, Robbie, Jenny, other family and friends, find peace in their memories and good in Charles's life. There is always good in a person if we look. Here's to Charles Carey Lane, brother, husband, father, and no doubt friend to many. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. All right, now we're back to where I was at before we had the American Legion show honors, and I had talked to Charles's brothers. Is there anybody else that would like to say something? If you do, I'd be more than happy to hand the mic to you. Desiree?
I'm going to try and get through this without crying. I'm very grateful for Charles's presence in my life. There are many times that he was the father figure I needed. When I was younger, we would go on road trips. I saw my first baseball game. I went to California. And he took us to a Cherokee Nation festival. I would have never experienced those things had it not been for him. He walked me down the aisle when I married my first husband. Everyone called him the Don. He did look like the Don. When he came to Minnesota, he freed my oldest son from a toxic daycare and told me that he would take care of him while I went to school and I worked. He helped guide me in many difficult times with difficult people and difficult situations. And he's helped guide and mold my children. Charles touched many people. And I will always be grateful for him.
When we were up in the hospital, Desiree reminded me of a lot of times Charles didn't look like he was paying attention, but he was really observing each and every one of us. And if we said something that sounded a little bit strange, I can't do it as good as Desiree, but he always lifted that one eyebrow, you know. And Desiree, I've gotten that lift quite a few times. Okay, anybody else? Jaden.
My name is Jaden. I'm Charles's nephew. I was talking to my parents about this last night, but I remember when I was super young, I was around Charles a lot because my mom was off working and going to school. And I remember that he would get mad at me for like running through the house and, you know, doing stupid stuff that I shouldn't be doing. And when I was younger, I always thought he was just being mean. He just was a cranky old man. As I've gotten older, I've started to realize he was just raising me the right way. And I am eternally grateful for him raising me that way, showing me how to play t-ball. Took me out fishing a few times. I just wish it wouldn't have taken me so long to realize what he was doing for me and how he's molded me. But I know as his passing that I love him very much, and I'm very grateful for everything he did.
Thank you, Jaden. Anybody else? Got a memory you want to share about Charles? Jay.
My name's Jay. I don't know many of you. And I only knew Charles for about a dozen years. But something you guys don't know, okay, he was a Texan. And they did things different down there. And ask me how I know, I'm an Okie originally. So, and we're up here in this Antarctic style tundra. I knew he was a good guy to come up here, because you can take a Texan out of it, but you'll never take the Texan out of him, you know, the old saying. But anyways, I got a little connection with him because, and I know where he's coming from. My dad was a Texan, and it was and I'm an Okie, so we were battling. And I knew when I found out he was from Texas, I'm like, all right, I got somebody to jaw with. Because there's one thing we have in common, it's football. And I'm a Sooner, and he's a Longhorn. and if you won't understand it unless you're from down there or been down there for any amount of time, there's a game between the Sooners and the Longhorns, and it was brutal. And every year I knew him. I'm like, oh, please win, because I need bragging rights for a year. Because because Charles, he would let you have it if you had it come. And I knew I was lucky enough to win most of them. So I'm like, whew. And one thing that an Okie never does is the horns up, but I'll give Charles the horns up one time. This is it. No more after today.
He appreciates it, I'm sure.
Anybody else?
Doug. This is one of these different.
Okay, go ahead, we got you.
Okay, thank you. This is Brian Lane. I'm a nephew of Charles. My sister Dania, my brother Keith, and I, we were very blessed to have been born into a family with grandparents who were loving, compassionate, patient. Fortunately, they passed those characteristic traits on to their sons. My sister Dania and my brother Keith would enjoy times at the pool, the Holiday Inn in Sherman, and visiting in Wichita Falls, where Charles and Rick were the fun uncles who entertained them while the grandparents took a break. My memories of Charles were discussing football. He was a huge Cowboy fan. Loved to discuss that with him, and he stayed true to the Cowboys even after he moved to Minnesota, which we didn't agree with. We shared Thanksgivings and Christmases together as a family. In summers, up until the last few years, they were always wonderful to have both Kathy and Charles at the house. Charles was to my sister and my brother what my brother Keith is to the children in the family over here now. My sister and I are very thankful for the wonderful memories of him and the love of our family. We'll always cherish the times together. If I have any regrets, it's that I never went fishing with Charles. There was a lot to learn there, and I never took the time. That's haunting. But we love you. We love the family. We're sorry for everyone's loss. But we're happy. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
So I'm Josh, Charles's neighbor for 12 years almost. And no offense to anyone present, but he was my favorite neighbor. When we moved to the house, we were pretty young parents and trying to figure some things out and scared of everything. And Charles kind of helped us not be. You know, we let our kids spread out into the neighborhood a little more, and it just helped knowing that we had neighbors who could kind of help us keep an eye on things. One time, Caleb took off on his tricycle around the block, and I was gonna be firm, and I was gonna be really, really coming down on him to make sure he never did that again. And Charles I think he saw me coming, and he said, "You don't worry about it. He's not trying to do anything wrong. He's just trying to explore." And he taught me that you can be firm and gentle at the same time. And that's something I'll always be grateful for.
Anybody else?
My name is Judy, and I'm sister-in-law to Charles. You all have been talking a lot about his serious side, but Charles had a funny side too. And I remember one of the first times that I met him, we were up in Greenbush, and we were sitting around the dining room table, and me being me, I told a joke, and it had to do with the nationality. And he was sitting right across from me, and he looks me square in the eye, and he said, "I'm part," and then said the nationality. I could have crawled underneath the table. I was so embarrassed that I had maybe offended him or whatever. And later he told me, he said, the best part of that joke was seeing the expression on your face when I said what I said. Yeah, that was Charles. And they said that he retired and moved up here. Oh, he was still using his tactics, his psychiatric tactics. I have always had a fear of waters because I almost drowned as a young child. And anyway, they went fishing a lot, and they wanted me to go fishing too. And I was, hey, the boat goes on the water, right? It's not happening. And they got together and they bought a pontoon, thinking I would maybe feel better about that. And I said, no, the pontoon still goes on the water. Well, Charles, using the techniques that he has, made me get on that pontoon in our yard. And then he said, just sit on it and relax. And then Deb on one side, Kathy on one side, Doug on one side, Charles on the other side, began to rock that boat a little bit. And then he said, see, it wasn't so bad, was it? And I said, no, but it wasn't in the water either. Well, when we did put it in the water, he would not move the boat. He would not move that pontoon until I felt comfortable. And so we sat by the pier probably about 5 minutes before I said, okay, let's go. But I had one life jacket on and one on each side of me just in case. But Charles was a giving man. He gave his time, he gave his money, and he'd give the shirt off the back if you really needed it.
Okay, Bela.
Hi, my name's Bela. I'm one of Kathy's co-workers up here in Wichita Falls. When she first came down to the ER and started working, we all hit it off real well. We got to meet Charles. We'd go on little outings or have lunch several times throughout the month. And the one thing I remember about Charles was Kathy would come in and say, well, I gave Charles another project that he needed. So we had to go buy a new tool of some sort. And most of the time when he got a new tool, he was in the ER getting stitches or he'd fallen off the ladder. But those two were so much in love, and you could tell. And I just want y'all to know that me, Mitzi, Oopsie, and all the rest of us are still talking about those crazy times that we had. I am so sorry for y'all's loss. It broke our heart when we found out the news. But he will still stay in our stories. God bless you. And I hope you find peace in all these stories because they can never be replaced. Thank you. I love you, Kat.
Thank you, Bela.
You're welcome.
I think I can just talk from here down without the mic. On behalf of the PicoNet ham radio operators, I want to thank the family for sharing Charles with us. He was a good net operator. He was always there. He was my backup. If I was going to be gone and at the end of the month we have to compile reports to send in to somebody in the state, Charles would keep track of those numbers for me. And do that, so, again, thank you.
Anybody else? Going once? All right, thanks for coming. Kathy, you got anything you want announced or anything?
I just want to say thank you to all memories that you have of Charles, and it will be held in our hearts forever.
Kathy speaks for all of us. Okay. Then I guess you, Darcy.
Okay, I just want to say, it's on. You guys want to talk about the ham radio? My son once held the title of youngest ham operator, radio operator, because of my dad and my Uncle Charles. He doesn't do it now, but it was still something that he could have shared. I remember him by so. There's that.
Darcy, that was more Charles than it was me. I was just happy to take along. Anybody else? All right, let's, Dylan.
I just wanted to say that I have a lot of memories, none that are really coming to mind right now. But I do know that every time I went fishing with him and every ham radio event that I went to, it was always a good time whenever he was there. And he will be missed.
Okay. If that's all, then thank you for coming, and we'll be dismissed.